You're listening to Nothing Important.
Welcome to Nothing Important Podcast, where we have our friend Jeff on to disagree with everything the hosts say.
Yes.
I feel like we're on ESPN now. Like we brought someone on just to disagree with our point.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Please enjoy the show.
That's great. That works.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Nothing Important Podcast. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is my favorite color crayon, Dave. Dave, how you doing this evening?
Burnt Sienna.
Nice. Dave and I also host the Better Call Saul podcast called It's All Good, Man. You can find that on iTunes or at itsaulgoodman.com. On the third mic today, we have our friend Jeff, who spells his name with a G. Jeff, how are you doing this evening?
How dare you? How dare you throw me into that class of person?
Yeah, what is it, JEFG?
Yes. It's JEFFG. It's a silent G.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very Eastern European.
One of the lesser known hip hop rappers from the 90s, Silent G.
Silent G. Exactly.
Right. Well, gentlemen, I'm glad that you are here for this week's show because we didn't have a show last week. We ran into some technical difficulties.
Yeah, it's Jeff's fault.
I'm kind of the king of technical difficulties for the show, so keep
That's
the
okay.
scene alive.
It's nothing Dave and I haven't encountered before. We're still, I feel like because this year we'll start our third year of doing this, and I still feel like we are constantly learning and still making mistakes. So that's not a big deal at all. The 2 or 3 people that listened to us were probably a little despondent last week that there was no episode, but here we are this week.
However, it was Labor Day weekend, so we'll just use that as an excuse, and it will be posted eventually. I'm going to do some work on it and fix what I can of these technical difficulties and minimize them, and because it was a pretty damn funny conversation.
It was a good one for once. For once.
Yeah. It's about time we did something good. So, gentlemen, kind of an exciting day in my life today was my oldest daughter's first day of school.
Wow. Kindergarten, preschool.
No, kindergarten, man. It
real
seems like
school.
it's kind of late in the year to start the day after or the weekend after Memorial or Labor Day weekend.
Well, we can't all afford to send our daughter to these fancy late starting schools.
The fancy late starting Chicago public school.
Yeah, exactly. With all their
So they were probably negotiating their salary for the first month of the school year or something.
yeah, there's that.
Yeah. Just so they're already threatening a strike for October. So it's great because
Did you enjoy your first month of school, dear?
yeah.
It's a school taste is really what it is. A taste.
Yeah, Thanksgiving break this year is going to last from late September to early February. Then, because they're going to have makeup days, they're going to have to make up the Christmas vacation. So this entire year is just going to be
About
a
6
wash.
weeks. It'll be about 6 weeks. 6 educational weeks.
It's kind of fun because I don't live too far away from the school that we're taking my daughter. And as we're walking my daughter down there, she was all happy and giddy and super excited to start kindergarten, which is awesome because you always think that they're going to cry and freak out. And that didn't happen until shit got real and the teacher started walking them inside, and then my little girl just started bawling.
That's funny.
Well, you'll have that.
Which was awesome because, I'm like, okay, well, that's expected. She's like screaming like, Mommy, Daddy. And I'm just walking away. I'm telling my wife, don't look at her. Don't look at her. Just keep moving. Just keep moving. And then
This is what
I look
real
at my
life
wife.
is like.
Right. Yeah. Just a series of upsetting and scary.
There's no
moments.
safe spaces at this kindergarten.
Exactly.
Right. And my wife actually held up better than I thought she was. She barely cried at all. So I was actually very, very
She
proud
was
of her.
crying and screaming. The kids crying and screaming. The newborn's crying and screaming because that's all she knows how to do.
Yeah, it was like, okay, we're about like let's go get lunch. Even though it was like already 8:30 in the morning, I was already thinking about lunch.
That sounds about right.
I was ready to rock, but it was great. It was nice seeing her go to school for the first time. But before that, we tried to give her like a last 2 really kick-ass weeks of summer.
Did you go someplace?
We went camping over the weekend, which is absolutely interesting when you have a 5-year-old and a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and you're camping in a tent. Not exactly recommended.
Did they learn the adult
interesting.
skills of pooping outside?
No, but I did learn you can lock children in a tent if you try hard enough.
I'm going to remember that.
All you need is like a, like the little ties that come on loaves of bread.
Yeah.
Twist ties.
Yeah, just put that right through the little loop of the, put that in right in the little loop of the zipper. Bam, kids cannot figure out how to get out of a tent. But we did.
Yes.
Before that, also, we took her to Key Lime Cove, which is an indoor water park in Gurnee, Illinois, kind of near Six Flags. Have you ever been to indoor water
It's
park?
part of Six Flags, isn't it?
Well, it's owned by the same people.
I thought it was like with.
Indoor water parks are. What? Go ahead.
Is that not
Restate
the one that like comes with admission? Is there a different one?
No, that's Hurricane Harbor,
No.
if I believe.
Ah, okay.
Or if I'm
Yeah.
correct.
Okay.
Yeah, there's Hurricane Harbor in Six Flags, but the people that own Six Flags also own this place called Key Lime Cove, which is an indoor water park / hotel just across the street from Six Flags itself. And I think it ruined water parks for me
Why is that?
because, well, there's the typical everybody talks about how people pee in the pool,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And of course, this is a family thing. They have the arcade and they have restaurants and stuff. It's basically a big warehouse that they built a hotel in. It's just a big resort. But since I have children, you're just kind of accustomed to the fact that, people are going to pee in the pool and somebody might puke in the pool. But when you have a 2-year-old, the rules are that they have to wear a swim diaper.
Okay.
Now, I thought a swim diaper was just like a regular diaper, but maybe more made out of more plastic and maybe not as porous. So, like when you put them in, it won't like fill up like a regular diaper and they won't sink to the bottom.
Yeah.
Right. So we're swimming with my daughter, my youngest daughter, and I set her on the side of the pool and I noticed like this brown colored water start emanating from her ass. And I'm like, oh shit, she pooped. And I'm like, well, what's a swim diaper for? And then I realized a swim diaper isn't meant to keep anything in except for the solid poop. But if you add solid poop with chlorine water, all poop pretty much becomes diarrhea.
Yes.
And now this place is packed. So now I'm running around trying to find a place where I can inconspicuously change my little girl, because we were like far away from the dressing room, and at the whole time I'm running with her, there's just brown water dripping all over her, myself, and all over the floor.
Oh my God.
And I just remember thinking, well, now I got to go wipe that up, right? But it's literally like 200 yards of brown liquid. And as I changed her and cleaned her up and cleaned up as much as I could, I set her back in the pool, and I sit there and think, well, what if she shits again? And then I like look up and there's just a sea of toddlers who are all probably doing the same thing. So I was okay with peeing in the pool, but now I just realized every time you go to a water park, you're pretty much swimming in shit water also.
Absolutely. I think the CDC actually just did a study on that said like there's more fecal matter in a pool than there is urine.
Right. Exactly. And, so this got me curious, and I was looking things up also, Jeff. And, how, like, you jump in a chlorine pool and your eyes sting, and you're like, oh, man, they must to put a lot of chlorine in the pool.
Uh-huh.
Nope.
That's not too much chlorine. That's too much piss.
Yeah,
much shit.
exactly.
So you get pee in your eyes.
It's like my prom night.
Scary.
It's like my first communion, pretty much, is what it's like. So I'm like super hesitant to ever return to a water park ever.
Well,
again.
now I am too.
I am totally not. And like we went to my parents' house for Labor Day weekend and hung out and stuff. And we have to drive by the Fairview pool or the Fairview Fairview pool. on Main
Yeah.
Street, which you guys know. And it was packed to the gills because it's like the last day because it's Labor Day weekend. And the last day is supposed to be like dog day. Like they close the pool on Labor Day and then they open up the next day and you can take your dogs there.
Oh,
But which is fun,
barf.
which is fun for the dogs. But essentially, they're saying, "Hey, let's put your dogs into a septic tank and let them just batter around in it, and then take it back into your house. It's not a big deal. It'll be super fun for them."
Yeah. So that got me thinking: is there anything that people willingly subject themselves to that's grosser than going to a water park? Because, like, it's in your ears, it's in your mouth, it's in your eyes, and I honestly am not sure if I can go to a water park ever again.
is it any worse than swimming in a river like the Kankakee?
See, that's funny you brought that up. I think a river would probably be ideal because at least there's some sort of current.
But it's just
You know,
washing
like
more
moving
shit
stuff.
downstream.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
it's a
guess
lot.
that-
It's a lot larger volume of water, though, so it's moving faster and it's moving a lot more stuff out of the way. So I think I honestly think that'd be okay. If it's a lake, though, like Lake Clinton down here, which is the lake that's heated by the power plant, the nuclear power plant that's there, that's probably a terrible, terrible place to be all the time because it's hot, so bacteria just breed.
Is that
and grow
why I
and-
pulled out a
and do all this
crappie with 5 tumors in its face from that lake?
stuff. A blinky.
Probably
No joke. Had 5 tumors growing out of his face.
Oh, dude, that's probably exactly why.
Yeah.
And see, I spoke earlier about how we went camping. My parents, it's not really camping per se, because it's not like we camped in tents, but my parents belonged to one of these campgrounds where you pay for your spot for the entire year. It's like $1,200 for the entire year, and you can do up your spot however you want. So, for example, my parents have a travel trailer because they like to pull it with the truck and go to all sorts of boring ass places. But in the meantime, they park here at the campground. They have a nice wooden deck built on it with like an awning and a nice fire pit. My dad even tilled up the entire lawn of his lot and reseeded it and made it look all nice. So when me and my family came, we all put tents in the yard, so it looked like a hobo camp next to this somewhat nice camper. And they have a lake where everybody can swim, but at the same time, they have geese fucking everywhere and swimming in the lake. And it's not like it's not like Lake Michigan. It's not a giant lake. It's probably slightly better than a retention pond. It's probably like some ditch that they built for a coal mine 100 years ago that filled up with water. And they're like, oh, we'll just stick like a couple buoys in this bitch, put some docks around it. Ta-da. Swimming hole.
Ta-da.
And I'm
That's exactly what that is. It's down Strip Mine Road, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Out near Coal
Yeah.
City, where for those of you listening across the country and in Europe, yes, there's a city called Coal City, and
Cold
and I'm just sitting there looking at this,
Oh,
and all I can think of this is goose poop soup. Like that's all I can think about this lake. And my daughters wanted to swim so much, but I couldn't let them. I couldn't bring myself to do it. And my mom brought up a great point because she says we used to swim in lakes like this all the time when you were little.
Right.
But I don't think I could do it as an adult.
You didn't
So here's
understand the
the-
finer
It's too
points of goose shit.
So here's the thing that I
Right.
get yelled at for at both my jobs, and I work in pharmacies. I work at a retail pharmacy and a hospital pharmacy. And Brian, you lived with me for enough years to where we're common law married.
Yes,
You know
yes,
that
sir.
I like to leave my food just kind of sit out and get to room temperature, and then I will eat that, even if
Well-
it's a day old or so.
Real quick, it's not even room temperature because I remember one time when we were in the band, you and I went to University of Illinois to Flyer for a show that we had, and you went to Jimmy John's and got a sandwich with extra mayo.
Yes.
And you ate it, and as we repassed my truck, because you are the slowest eater I've ever seen in my life,
Also
you
true.
had over half of a sandwich left. You wrapped it up and stuck it in the exposed bed of my truck, which it sat in the sun for about 5 hours on
Yes.
a 90-degree day. And then
Yes.
when we returned to the truck, you unwrapped it and ate it like nothing ever happened.
Absolutely, because I believe in something called challenging your immune system. Just like when people work out, you're challenging your muscles and stuff, and you have to stress them and
Right.
break them down
Right.
in order to actually gain more muscle. The same thing happens to your digestive tract and immune system. So by introducing more bacteria to it, but not enough to overwhelm it, but just enough to where they're like, hey, guys, okay, well, I'm just going to be here and I'm going to play. You actually, you build up something into your gut to where you can hold and withstand more things. So I like to think that my, 15 years now that we've been hanging out, I've built up something to where I could do the Oregon Trail and not get dysentery.
I was just going to make a dysentery joke.
So now, if that was in a controlled environment, that would be a viable excuse. But you're kind of just leaving it up to the laws of nature and come what may. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it's bullshit.
Well, it's the same as people not vaccinating their kids. You know, you vaccinate your kid, they get exposed to something, then they probably won't get it. You know, I eat
but
something
they make it autism.
Yeah, but some autistic kids are really cool. So
yeah.
And they can do really cool stuff.
Well, I will say this, though. I'm a hypocrite. I'm just giving you a bunch of crap because if you've seen my house, that is the same excuse that I give. It's like, oh, I don't get sick.
Exactly. I get a cold from time to time. But have I actually been like
nasty?
I was going to say, but have I actually been like diarrhea, flu, gross, you know, like, oh my God, I can't do anything sick? Not in probably 20 years.
Right.
Me and Jeff almost did the Jeff and Brian show there, Dave.
Yeah. You should have. I could have stayed at work.
Well, you jumped in seriously like a minute after we started, so it was like
it was actually
like, okay, we'll just wait for
it was actually hilarious to see your video just sitting there with you smoking a cigarette, not doing anything.
I was listening to you guys.
Oh, okay.
I was turning my computer on, doing all that fun stuff, listening to you guys blab.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are we ready?
So Anthony Jeselnik fucking sucks. Yeah, we can do this.
Anthony Jeselnik sucks. Wait, shut up. Anthony Jeselnik sucks?
Yeah, I don't like him.
Why not?
Start the show.
Oh, come on.
I told Brian I wanted maybe we can talk a little stand-up tonight.
All right.
Did anybody else just hear a doorbell? What was that all about?
No.
Oh, okay. That might have been Facebook. Okay, hold on. Let me close Facebook since you're both on.
Or your email program, maybe. Mine beeps, dings at me.
Or your email notification dildo.
Mm-hmm.
Like.
That's an e-dildo.
Yeah.
It's like one of those things where, you know how there's the grand internet social experiments where people can log onto a website and you can have people from all over the world controlling like the color of a light bulb in a room or maybe a remote control car that like cruises around the house?
Yeah.
That's pretty much how the e-dildo works.
Yeah. Well, I personally choose the Samsung Fist because it's more universal. It uses USB instead of a proprietary connection.
Is it USB 2 or 3, though?
Well, it's a 3, so you get a better bandwidth. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, this is like 2016, Dave.
Yeah, seriously.
Well, I mean, how much information, how many ones and zeros you need to send to a dildo? It's like vibrate and vibrate faster.
Oh,
obviously, you've never experienced it. So,
or is this like a fully robotic hand that actually does open and close and move around and stuff?
That's gonna be the Samsung Dildesk 4, which will be coming out next year.
Yeah. They previewed it at last year's Consumer Electronics Show, but the big debut is going to be this year. You know, they want to build the hype.
Right.
That's crazy because I'm still on the Dildesk 1.
Oh man, you need to upgrade that shit. So, but that sucks because if you're on the Dildesk 1, that means every time you go to use it, you have to wait for some updates.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but they're pretty good about their upgrading their firmware. The software takes a little time sometimes, but the firmware is pretty good.
What I would say is, I mean, it's just covered in plastic. There's no actual metal. That could actually make it feel like it has heft and weight and push ability and stuff like that. Because
they make them on a 3D printer these days.
Oh, come on! Not everything can be made on a 3D printer. Not a good fist.
Trust me, I've worked with cadavers, and I've tried to replicate several times.
My dad sells caskets. I know this.
All the cadaver fists that you could take home.
You're listening to Nothing Important.
All right, gentlemen. So, Greg Johnson, creator of Toe Jam and Earl, contacted us again.
How'd that go?
Awesome. Okay, so we kind of talked about this on the last show that was recorded, and we didn't get to put out last week. But once again, we were super excited that he got picked up by Adult Swim Games. They're going to help him fund Toe Jam and Earl Back in the Groove. They're going to put it on consoles for him, throw him a little money and promotion on Adult Swim, which is absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
So super.
That sounds like a match made in
And-
heaven.
Yeah, totally. And he actually called us and left a message about the progress of the game, which Dave is going to play now.
Beep
That's where you
bop
put
boo
that
boo
bitch in
beep bop boo doo dee dee.
Hello, I am Dave Johnson.
Hey, Brian, this is Greg Johnson. Hey, I thought I'd just leave you a quick message on your question about what it's like to work with Adult Swim. So the short answer is amazing. They've been so great. You probably know, in fact, I'm sure you do, about the history of the games and, the publishers with Toe Jam and Earl 1 and 2. And the reason why I was wary about working with the publisher, I didn't intend to do that. In fact, when I ran the Kickstarter campaign, that was one of the platforms, was I wanted to have the freedom to build the game the way I wanted to this time. So, I was very hesitant, I guess. And when they approached me, I wasn't initially too inclined, but as it happened, there's a lot of Toe Jam and Earl fans at Adult Swim. And several of them have even backed the Kickstarter campaign. And when they told me that they wanted to really let me kind of have the freedom to realize the vision of the game that I wanted to make, that things have been even better than I anticipated. They've been hands-off when it comes to creative, but offering great feedback, being a really supportive resource in just all the best things you can imagine. So, so far it's been wonderful. I expect it to continue, and it's just, going into PAX is just exciting. They're doing so much. It's great. It's great. Toe Jam and Earl costumes and pins and live music and just all kinds of stuff. So we'll see, but I'm pretty excited, feeling good. I hope that answers your question, and thank you for the support as always. Much appreciated. Alrighty, bye.
What I like about that voicemail is one of the things I liked about Greg is he's a talker.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah. Not that it's bad. Not that it's bad at all, but the man could talk. And when I talked to him over the phone, I was all excited. I said, well, do me a favor, send me a voicemail about what it's like to work for Adult Swim Games. And I thought he'd call back and say, man, working for Adult Swim Games is super cool, and it'd be all of 20 seconds. But it's a good 3-minute 3-minute message that he left us, and I'm happy that everything is going well. I can't wait for the game to come out in 2017.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I mean, you heard it, but just the way he describes it is what struck me. He's still excited about it.
Exactly. His excitement is what got me, that he's just, yes, I can actually do what I want.
And he's going to get to do what he wants, which is even cooler.
Yeah.
Exactly. And today he actually sent us a sampler CD that's the sample of the music that is going to be in the new Toe Jam and Earl game. I haven't got a chance to listen to it yet, but maybe on next week's episode or something, we'll throw something up just to help him out.
Yeah, I was going to say this week, but let's get his permission first.
Yep, totally. But if anybody has ever played Toe Jam and Earl, or you're interested in a really oddball series of games, I would definitely recommend looking up Toe Jam and Earl on the old school Sega Genesis. You could probably look up Toe Jam and Earl 2. That is a great game as well, albeit different. And you could just go ahead and skip Toe Jam and Earl 3 on the Xbox, because that was kind of a hunk of shit. But it wasn't a hunk of shit because of Greg Johnson. It was a hunk of shit because he was trying to get funding and all that, and the people that kind of produced it, helped him produce it, put in so many restrictions. Like, they made one of the characters like a gangster rapper, and they cussed in it, and that's totally not Toe Jam and Earl at all.
Yeah.
They took away from his creative influence on the game and how he wanted it to be.
Right. Absolutely. So I can't wait to see how it turns out next year. Make sure to, keep listening to this podcast. I'm sure we'll talk to Greg again. And also make sure to go to, I believe it's toejamearl.com. Check it out and the progress on that. But to coincide, Jeff, years and years ago, you and I were sitting in the basement of our fraternity house, which I'll just go ahead and say it is Delta Sigma Phi. So if there's any Delta Sigma Phi people out there, feel free to invite us to come hang out at your house. We'll be more than happy to be the old ass people hanging out at your fraternity house.
Who has nothing else to do, who will be weird creeps. Yes.
But 15 years ago, we were sitting in the basement early September of 2011. And I remember sitting in the basement with you, and there was a group of about 10 of us. Dave, you weren't there, but there was a group of 10 of us just drinking in the basement of the fraternity house. And then the weirdest thing we've ever seen came on the TV. It was Harvey Birdman, like repurposed animation from old school Hanna-Barbera cartoons. They made Harvey Birdman, which is just a kind of a funny ripoff of
Birdman.
Birdman. Yeah, from the DC
Yes.
from DC Comics, except for he was a lawyer and they had the multicultural pals and obviously a send up of Super Friends. And I remember it was just a bunch of ethnic stereotypes like the French tickler and
Jesse Jackson.
And Jesse Jackson, who was holding a rainbow over his dick.
Yes.
Because, of course, Jesse Jackson has the Rainbow Coalition and all that. And I can't believe that was 15 years ago, man.
No, man, we were sitting.
So long.
I remember us sitting down there. I don't even know what we were doing. We were just sitting down there, probably eating dinner or something, or finishing dinner, because we probably had an event like right before that. And we're watching on a 13-inch TV in the corner, like nothing else. And all of a sudden, that and the very first episode of Aqua Teen came on.
Yeah.
And it started out, I believe, with home movies.
Mm-hmm.
Which we kind of just watched because it was a cartoon and we had nothing else to do and we didn't watch football.
Right.
So, because we're dorks and we don't watch football. So, we decided to go with that. And it was just something intriguing. And we sat there the whole night and it just became a tradition.
Yeah. Yeah. And I remember the initial thoughts too. We were all like, what the fuck was that? Like, what happened to Cartoon Network?
Exactly. Because it got way fucked up. I mean, like, especially when it got to Aqua Teen. Then it got way fucked up.
And I think what they did is because I've watched Cartoon Network since its inception, because everybody knows I'm a huge animation fan. And there was no warning or previews or anything about Adult Swim. It was just, it turned into Adult Swim. I remember it had not like now where they have the black screen and the anvil noise and the text on the screen. There used to be like an announcement that all kids got out of the pool. And then it was really awkward.
But that wasn't until like a couple weeks in. And it would show like a pool, and like all kids out of the pool and
yeah.
But it was a few weeks in before they even started those bumps, like to say that this is a special block of really crazy shit that's going on.
Yeah, and it's just kind of nice that all these years later, of course, we're into this podcast venture, and that gave us the opportunity to talk to somebody that I've really enjoyed their work. Greg Johnson, creator of Toe Jam Earl, came on our show, and then a year and a half later, Adult Swim becomes a financier and a producer of the new Toe Jam Earl game. So it's just kind of a funny way that things come full circle.
Yeah, 15 years ago is a long time. My girlfriend, her family wants to go to Disney World this year. Hey, hush. And that's fine. And it's fine that she was. But her family wants to go to Disney World. And I guess the new thing at Disney World is you prepay for stuff, so you get a wristband and it kind of connects to everything. You just push it to get something. Yeah, the wristband connects to all the up and down stuff. And they were like, well, you get to put a name on it. So what do you want your name to be? And they're all picking their fun names. So mine was Schwifty from Rick and Morty's greatest song that saved the world.
Schwifty, yes.
Get
absolutely.
Schwifty.
Yeah. Rick and Morty. Dave, have you ever watched Rick and Morty?
I never watched Rick and Morty. I watched one episode and I couldn't get into it. That's the Back to the Future.
You got to
give
it give it a couple episodes because it's totally worth it.
It's totally
Is
amazing.
that the Back to the Future ripoff show?
Yes, it is actually. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, that's exactly how it started off. Yeah. Absolutely. Dave, so I was talking to you, and here's the thing about me. I know dick about shit, like, and I'm terrible with pop culture. It's funny because we talk to some decently famous people who have done some awesome things, and I feel like sometimes the show should just be called "Let's Talk to People Brian Gives a Shit About," because it's such a small pool of people. You were asking me about stand-up comics today, and outside of the ones that we've talked to on the show, and maybe a handful of others, I have no frame of reference of who you were talking about. But the way you describe the comedy to me is it's offensive for the sake of being offensive.
Yes.
Yeah, but you described it as dead baby jokes.
Aren't dead baby jokes offensive for the sake of being offensive?
Yeah, but they're like
They are, sure.
not. But they're not offensive at all.
Well,
Correct,
the thing
because-
is, I guess my point was, if every single joke you tell is supposed to be offensive, if you're being offensive
yeah.
just for the sake of being offensive, like, that's fine, but I need straight jokes in there. I need something to give, to reset the palate, and not just like, because I don't want to go, oh, did he just say that after every fucking thing you say? It's like,
Well,
write a joke. You're replacing. It's the same problem I have with Sausage Party at times, where you're replacing writing something actually clever for something that's just offensive.
Well, Dave, who are you actually talking about?
I'm talking about Anthony Jeselnik.
I totally disagree.
All right, debate me. Counterpoint. Let's go.
It's fine. Okay. I will say that the comedy of Anthony Jeselnik is just fine because of the way he approaches it as total 2 lines. Setup, punchline. Setup, punchline, setup, punchline. And I understand that actually his entire style of comedy for the most part is your dead baby joke meme that you're talking about, and that's what they're all supposed to be shocking and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But if they're set up properly, I'll be honest, I could watch that for an hour and a half.
I just can't do it. Like, it's sometimes you can like predict, not even really predict what he's saying, but I don't know, just like, it's not gonna. If it's always a twist, then there's no longer a twist.
I could see that, I could see what you're saying, but like if that, to me, like when I watch his stand-up, his specials that he's had on Netflix and Comedy Central, and his very short-lived show that was on Comedy Central, it was very non sequitur, and maybe that's just my type of comedy.
No, I'm fine with
non
that.
sequitur. Go ahead.
That's your point? That's your counterpoint?
Well,
My counterpoint is I agree with what you say.
the thing got choppy. No, I guess it's just the fact that it just seems like every joke he wants that reaction of, ooh, like, did he just say that? And if that's your whole thing, then you're a one-trick pony, and I get tired of one-trick ponies real fucking quick. Like,
That's
Louis
fair.
C.K. will do a, did you just say that joke? And then he'll say something just stupid or make a funny impression that he thinks is funny. Change it up. You got to have a little set flow. You got to have some dynamics,
Okay.
I mean, and I'm fine with complete one. I actually started watching Louis C.K. after that, and John London, is that his name?
Mm-hmm.
He opened up his special. He's a one-liner or two-liner, a Mitch Hedberg type.
Yeah.
I'm a big Mitch Hedberg fan, but it's just when it's repeatedly offensive, or you're going for the same reaction with every delivery, and he creeps me the fuck out. He just creeps me the fuck out.
Well, I think that
He looks like he wants to
creeps me
murder
out.
the room and eat everybody's face.
Yes, and I will agree with that. He looks like to me that he wants to murder everyone. He's got that. Oh, how to describe it? That like popular football guy type face in high school.
The classically handsome jock face.
The classically handsome jock face that at the same time peaked in high school. So 10 years later, when you see him at a bar, they look the same. They're still doing the same shtick and stuff. That's what he looks like. And maybe that's what I expect, because I've been watching him for like 5 years on television, 7 years on television, and I expect that kind of shock or that very offensive type thing to happen. But I'll be honest, I don't know how offensive it's going to be or where it's going to go to that next point, which is what to me makes it entertaining still.
Yeah, well, maybe it's also the fact that I just don't get offended very easily.
Neither do I. I mean, I don't get offended by anything.
So
I
it has
really
to be
like when
funny and
other
offensive?
people get yeah. I really like when other people get offended
Yes.
because I don't.
Right.
Because it's always been my mantra that it's not my job not to offend you. It's your job not to be offended.
Yes. I'll agree with that.
And yeah.
Speaking of which,
I would also agree, and I have never I have no idea who you guys are talking about. I mean, outside of like Louis C.K., I have no clue who the hell you're talking about. But now my goal is as soon as we get off the phone, I'm going to reach out to his management and I'm going to try to get him on the show. And Dave can tell him how much he thinks he sucks.
I don't want to do that to his face.
Fantastic. Well, you won't
Don't
because
worry,
it'll
we'll-
be over the phone.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't want to tell him how much he sucks. It's not.
He might revel in that though.
I don't have the balls to do it, and I don't want to go toe to toe with somebody that talks for a living and has to be witty for a living.
That
I'll get
actually
schooled.
has.
I'll get owned. He'll prove how funny he actually can be at my expense. I don't want to give him that opportunity.
He's totally the third-rate Jeffrey Ross of the roasts that happen on Comedy Central. Like, he's never going to be the host, but he's always one of the people who's always there.
Yes.
So he's turned into Gilbert Gottfried, essentially.
Is it true that he dates or dated Amy Schumer and writes a bunch of her jokes?
He did at a point.
Okay, because I don't think
They
she's
don't-
funny either.
They don't. Well, then I guess that's to your point then. So, touche, salesman.
I too have an uncle.
Well, I guess we'll find out when we have this guy on the show.
You get Anthony Jeselnik on the show, and I might be busy that day.
All right. And then anybody out there listening, then you can stay tuned for the Jeff and Brian show when we talk shit to whoever this guy is on Dave's behalf.
So,
This guy that's like on our podcast, it's not even my podcast. I'm just a guest. I'm just here. But this guy that I'm taking the place for totally fucking hates you.
Oh, he was shit talking you so bad.
Did I ever
he
say
thinks
I
you
hated
have a
him?
small penis? He thinks you have a small penis and can't read good.
Yeah, I heard it. He was drawing pictures and
did
everything.
I ever
Yeah.
say I hated him?
No, you didn't.
Yes.
Did
you
I?
didn't. But in our inference, you did.
Well, I guess if you want to infer that.
Yeah.
But I also wanted to talk about when I mentioned to Brian that I had switched specials and I was watching Louis C.K. and he came back with 5 years ago funny Louis C.K. or preachy but famous for a little while Louis C.K. And I didn't take any of that away because it was the new stand-up and I didn't take any preachiness or anything away from it. Would you care to expound on that? Maybe get Louis C.K. on. You can tell him how much he sucks now.
No,
No.
I'll tell him he's preachy. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, I know you won't.
No, see, here's the thing. I like Louis C.K. I think his show is absolutely genius. But I feel like after he kind of got a bigger mic, he kind of fell into the trap that a lot of people do when they get a bigger mic, and they kind of leave what their base was a little bit and kind of become a little bit more preachy because their words have a little bit more weight. Yeah, I'll tell him that.
I didn't get that.
As a matter of fact,
I didn't infer that from his podcast or from his stand-up special.
I feel I did because I watched a lot of his early stuff. I really got into Louis, and then everything after that, I felt like, man, he's just kind of really.
He throws little
Nah,
jabs. I guess he was throwing little jabs in there.
I think you cannot take Louis the show as like the same thing as his stand-up, because his stand-up is something that he does and he works on and he changes. But when he has the show he writes in a certain way to where he is trying to say a message and it's trying to be some shitty, like, guess what? Life sucks.
Right.
Or, this sucks. And this is real life type message.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he tries to portray that sometimes in his stand-up. But, I mean, the show also has to follow a storyline to some point.
Yeah.
So he has to have a beginning and an end to that for 13 episodes that are going to be on the channel. So I agree that, he's gotten more preachy, but I disagree in the fact that it has taken away from what he says and does, because I feel the way that he says and does stuff is still has an honesty to it. Especially the show that he had that got canceled. It was like what was it, a YouTube show or Netflix show or something? It got canceled after like 3 episodes, but they did all 13, and it had like Alan Alda in it, and a bunch of famous people. But they just didn't like it because it ended with like someone dying, or it was just like, hey, guess what? Whatever.
Well, those are all fair points, Jeff. But I guess what I'm getting at is Louis C.K. is going to be very pissed when we get him on the show and we tell him how much Dave said he sucks.
I can't believe Dave said that.
I was going to say,
loud.
welcome to Nothing Important Podcast, where we have our friend Jeff on to disagree with everything the hosts say.
Yes.
I feel like we're on ESPN now. Like we brought someone on just to disagree with our point.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Another reference Brian doesn't get, but Brian, ESPN's full of like 5 or 6 shows where the entire basis of the show is that 2 people have opposing points. And they will always have polar opposite points and yell at each other.
And that is actually the only thing that the network has.
Yeah.
It has small highlights and people who don't disagree about things that don't matter.
All right, Dave, you can stop recording now.
Be sure to follow Nothing Important online at nothingimportantpodcast.com. Find us on iTunes, on Twitter at NotImportantPC, and you can also find us on Facebook. Nothing Important is recorded with help from Third City Sound in Joliet, Illinois. Thanks for being awesome.